Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy their first multifamily deal. So today I want to talk about multifamily interest rates for 2025. So I've been getting a lot of quotes to do cash out refinances on my 26 unit, my 20 unit, as well as rates for my 50 unit apartment complex, which I've kind of been eyeing, but I doubt I'll buy, just to kind of get a pulse in the market and to get a pulse of what interest rates look like. So for my 26 unit, I just got a quote back yesterday, and they quoted me that the value based on the net operating income was about $1.5 million. So what they asked me for the profit and loss statement for the past 12 months. They asked me for a recent rent roll, and then they asked me for the current debt structure. So I gave them the rent roll, which showed about 95% occupancy. I gave them my T12, which had my gross income for the year, my gross expense for the year, and my NOI was about $50,000. But because I had a one-time construction expense of about $50,000, you can carve that out. So essentially my NOI was about $100,000. So depending on what cap rate you use, I believe they used an 8 cap for my market. The cap rate was 8%. So the value was roughly around, I think $1.5 to $1.6 million. And because during cash out refinance, the max you can typically do is about 70% or 75% cash out refinance. I think they quoted me at around 70%. So that's me pulling out about 1.125 million. So they quoted me a loan of 1.125 million. The balloon is about 10 years. The interest rate was about 6.25%, which was a little bit surprisingly low for me, in my opinion. Amortization was 30 years, and there's a hefty prepayment penalty called a yield maintenance prepayment penalty of 9.5 years. So, they didn't give me the number in the quote, but it was just like a quick high-level number to give me what it looks like if I were to do a cash out refinance. So, I assume for this property, the monthly loan has to hit that debt service coverage ratio of 1.25. So if my gross income was about $16,000, they might have assumed expenses might be maybe $7,000. So that's a $9,000 net operating income, and then that has to be 25% higher than the monthly cost. So I didn't get the monthly loan cost, but they said the max loan that I could do was about 1.125 million. So I'm assuming that is going to be about 25% less than what my NOI is going to be. So it was kind of refreshing to get a valuation of my 26 unit apartment from a lender, because I had it appraised at about $1.6 million. So it's actually reaffirming to hear that an agency lender, Arbor, evaluate the same way. And so essentially, let's just round it up to round it down to $1.1 million. My loan is going to be about $400,000. So to pay that off, I would have $700,000 left over. Between the renovation cost and my down payment, I was all in for $400,000 in this deal. So I would basically get back my down payment, get back my renovation cost, and on top of that, get additional $300,000 on top of that, tax-free, because it's a loan. So I could use that to, buy the 50 unit apartment complex. For example, I could take that money and pay off another property, or I just can hold on to the money and invest it and liquidate the money, right? So I'm not gonna do any of the above because I don't want to lose my 4.25% interest rate, and I'm not in the season of buying real estate right now. But it was just nice to see those loan terms. So I sent over my 20 unit as well, and I want to see what type of debt I'm seeing. So if I were to play with the numbers a little bit on this loan, so the prepayment penalty is a yield maintenance, which is the heaviest prepayment penalty. So if I wanted a step down percentage for prepayment penalty, it'd be 5% year 1, 4% year 2, 3% year 3, 2% year 4, 1% year 5. The interest rate's gonna be a little bit higher. So they might quote me closer to close to 7% interest rate instead of 6.25. So that's always a trade-off that you're gonna make. And whenever they quote you the lowest interest rate, it's usually the prepayment penalty is gonna be a yield maintenance, which is the strictest prepayment penalty, because that basically guarantees that the lender will get all their interest for the life of the loan, right? Regardless of when you sell the property, regardless of when you cash out refinance the property, or decide to do a 1031 exchange. So you lose a lot of flexibility, but because of that, you have a lower interest rate. So that was the first quote I was given. And for the same agency debt for the 50 unit, the loan terms were very similar. They gave me a 5-year balloon and a 10-year balloon. The 10-year balloon had a 3-year interest-only period, amortized over 30 years. Interest rates was very similar, and the same strict prepayment penalty, right? So I got some quotes on my own from another lender that I use called CoreVest, and I pretty much saw the same interest rate. So their interest rate was a little bit higher at around like 7.25. They're a private money lender, so they have a lot of the funds themselves. And once again, they had a stricter yield maintenance prepayment penalty. And if I wanted a step down, I could get it, but interest rate would be up. So you have to kind of pick your poison. So that was kind of the quotes that I received. So like I said, seeing a 6.125 or 6.25 was pretty shocking to me. Haven't seen those rates in a while. If I heard that interest rate back in 2021, I think it's high. So, it's kind of got me thinking, like Steven from in scale mode would have easily just took the cash out refinance, put out the $1.125 million tax free, pay off the loan, get my down payment back, get my renovation fund back, get $300,000 on top of that, and then go scale into a 50 unit apartment complex where that's the down payment and I'm getting a new loan, right? So the old Steven would have done that. But for me, I've been really kind of taking a step back and reevaluating how I want to pivot, moving forward. Because now that I built up a nest egg that's decent, that's enough for me to retire. So I built up I think I'm $6.4 million net worth now. So if you were to take the 4% rule of that, that's about $240,000 a year. And I wouldn't touch the principal, assuming all my real estate was liquidated, assuming it was all dumped into an S&P 500 index fund. And, assuming this is not factoring taxes though, right? But realistically, there'd be capital gains tax and you'd pay, 15-20% of that. So, let's just say after all the taxes and whatnot, let's just make it 5 million, keep it easy. So 4% of that would be about $200,000 a year, which is pharmacist's salary, right? And remember, my initial objective with real estate was to be able to make work optional. In the beginning, I was optimizing for scale. I was optimizing to build my net worth. I was optimizing to get the best return on investment while compromising my lifestyle, while compromising my stress, while compromising, convenience, right? So now that I hit a good number of $6.4 million, I want to start taking some chips off the table. I want to, maybe consider selling a property and then paying up my primary residence. And what's beautiful about house hacking, for those of you who want to do it, is I house hacked 4 properties over the span of a year and a half to 2 years on average, right? I bought my first one in 2017, second in 19, third in 19, and then the fourth one was I think early 2021. So there's a period where I kind of bought 2 not too far apart. And what's nice about house hacking is that you can, especially in a high cost of living area like California, is I put 10% down, locked in a low interest rate back then. And I just literally rented out the property. I held it and it just appreciated a lot over time. So now I have these 4 properties that are piggy banks for me. Each of them have a lot of equity built into them. Each of them have $500,000 plus equity built up in them. And I did nothing, right? I just bought on market deal on Redfin, made offers, got an interest rate. I didn't think it was an amazing deal back then, but it's a good area, right? All the areas I bought my single family homes are in really nice areas and they appreciate well, right? Thanks to COVID, thanks to low interest rates, thanks to just inflation, right? And I didn't know at the time, like you said, when I bought my properties, I didn't really negotiate. I didn't think it was a killer deal. I just bought a on market, at market price deal, and I just held on to it for a couple years, and then the prices skyrocketed. So because of that, I have 4 piggy banks now. And what's kind of nice is there is a way for me to optimize for lifestyle as well as to optimize for portfolio growth as well. I could take one of my properties, sell that, pay off my primary residence, which is more for my lifestyle, right? It's a bad investment, but it's good for my happiness. It's good for stress reduction. It's good for sleeping well at night. I'm taking some chips off the table, and it allows me to not be tied to my W-2 job, which is my goal, right? So that's one piggy bank that's smashed. I have another single family home that I could sell, and I can potentially 1031 exchange that into an apartment complex if I want to buy it, right? Or I can 1031 exchanges into multiple single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, or it's a cheaper area. So I can cash in that equity, use that equity to transfer it to a cash flow market, right? So this is the fastest way to build wealth, right? And what's kind of crazy is like during my whole journey, I felt like I was poor and broke the whole time because I was a complete definition of asset rich, cash poor. I built up a lot of equity in my single family homes. It's a lot of trapped equity. I have a lot of money in 401ks, but you can't touch that until you're retired. And I have, a lot of IRAs. So I was the definition of the middle class trap where I have all these assets, this high net worth, but it wasn't necessarily improving my lifestyle. So recently it just kind of hit me that like, oh wow, like now that I finished scaling, now that I finished stabilizing my portfolio, now that I have time to like rest and really reassess and reprocess, I'm just thinking, okay, like how can I could sell one to pay off my house, reduce my life, make my lifestyle easier, improve my life, improve my quality of life. Like maybe I can just become a regular pharmacist and not be a stressful pharmacy manager. Maybe I can just work part-time, right? And or maybe Christine can like go part-time, and then eventually when we have kid 1, kid 2, maybe I'm part-time, we're both part-time, or maybe we just retire altogether, right? When I'm in my 40s and she'll be like in her mid-30s. So it's really about the lifestyle for that and taking some chips off the table, right? Because equity doesn't pay the bills today unless you sell a property, right? So I might have to sell one to improve my lifestyle. And I still have 3 other piggy banks that I want to do. Like if I find a great deal, like if I find a great apartment complex deal, like if I find another deal like my 26 unit, which is like a screaming deal, it's a home run, and I'm patient for it, right? Like that's why I'm not so excited about the 50 unit apartment complex. It's not like a home run deal. Like it's just more like a base hit. Like if I were to buy it, my lifestyle wouldn't be the same. I would feel like I'd be more stressed just knowing I have another property to manage. So like it actually would decrease my quality of life despite doubling my portfolio from 52 units to 102 units. So that's just something to be cognizant of, right? So, but if I see a screaming deal, which I know what good deals are like because I've been investing in Oklahoma for 4 years now, and I know what a good deal looks like. It looks like my 26 unit apartment complex, right? I may not find another deal like that again, but if I do, by all means, I can sell one of my single family homes and 1031 exchange that to that. But my objective is that as long as I'm willing to work, I don't want to sell my properties because you build the most wealth in real estate by holding your real estate long term. Because I don't cash flow on my single family homes, right? But every month I get principal pay down, right? Every month, every year or 2 years, my rent goes up a little bit. Hopefully my expenses don't go up too much, but in reality, property tax goes up, insurance goes up, and you have repairs and maintenance. And then hopefully the market appreciates over time. Like if interest rates drop, my values will go up. So the longer I can hold this while I'm still working, I want to like make that nest egg grow as big as possible before I like sell it and cash in, right? And when I cash in, I want to improve my lifestyle. So once again, pay off my primary residence, maybe have a large emergency reserve for myself, and I just can invest it in more liquid stuff like T-bills. And I have 3 other single family homes that I started house hacking with to essentially, if I want to 1031 exchange it and buy it, trade up to an apartment complex, I could do that, right? I have $500,000 equity. I can 1031 exchange up to a $1.5 million apartment complex. So why I'm sharing all this is all started thanks to me house hacking. And like anyone can get into house hacking. Like literally, you just need 10% down, right? Like whatever your market looks like. In my market, it was $1 million. So I needed $100,000 down. But if you're like in Vegas, you can buy a fourplex for $500,000. So you put $50,000 down. You own a fourplex. You live in 1 unit. So you're living. You have to pay yourself to live there. And then you have rental income from 3 other units. And maybe those 3 rental units might cover your mortgage. And then you're just paying for property tax, insurance, and utilities and whatever repairs, right? So you do that, and then you live there for 1.5 to 2 years, however long it takes you to save up another $50,000, and then now you buy another fourplex with 10% down, and then you rent out your last unit, and then you rinse and repeat that every 2 years. And then fast forward a decade, you can have like 10 of these duplexes that you got through house hacking, and then at this point, if you like your fourplexes, then great, you can keep it. Or now you can say, you know what, I want to scale up or I want to scale back. So if you want to scale up, you would sell a fourplex, 1031 exchange that into an apartment complex. Maybe you can buy 8 unit, you can buy 10 unit, you can buy a 20 unit apartment complex using the equity from that fourplex, right? That's if you want to scale up. Now, if you want to scale back because you're like, you know what, hey, I own, let's just say 20 units over a decade because I bought a duplex or fourplex every 2 years for 10 years. So now I have 20 units and each unit, let's just say, rents out for $2,000. So now you're getting $40,000 a month in gross rental income. And you said, you know what, my fire number is, let's just say, $20,000 a month. So you could sell off half your portfolio, use that equity to pay off your other half, and now you own this portfolio free and clear. So that's when you want to scale back and you want to just optimize towards lifestyle, right? So that's the beauty of like owning a lot of assets, and this is all about asset management and having a portfolio, right? Like you can like if you own 5 fourplexes, you can literally use one to 1031 exchange up to scale. You can use 2 that you sell off to pay off the other 2, and now you own a bigger, let's say a 20 unit apartment complex now, and you own 2 free and clear fourplexes, right? So that 2 free and clear fourplexes is your foundation. So that's what I mean by like you want to raise your baseline, you want to raise your foundation. So for me, part of building my foundation is taking some debt off the table, right? So that's taking off the debt of my primary residence, and I can always get a HELOC on my primary residence if I want access to quick cash for like a fix and flip, for like renovation costs, right? And also if I sell other single family homes, I could use that to pay, like I could sell one apartment to pay off my other apartment, or I could sell another single family home and use that to pay off my 26 unit and my 20 unit. So now I own my primary residence free and clear. So I'm alleviated of my mortgage of $5,500 a month. I own a 20 unit that's free and clear now. So that alleviates me of $2,600 a month in loan payments. And then my 26 unit is free and clear, which saves me $2,000. So if you look at that move, just between the 2 mortgages in my apartments, that's about $4,600 in savings plus another $5,500 on top of that. So that's almost like $11,000 a month in reduced expenses, which means that my cash flow is higher by that much, right? Because now I get gross rental income of $10,000 plus $16,000, $26,000, and whatever expense I have, because there's no debt, that's pure cash flow for me, right? My primary residence is owned free and clear, minus property tax, insurance, HOA. That's $2,000 a month, but the cash flow from those 2 apartments will cover that, right? And then I still, on top of that, own 3 single family homes on top of that, right? I'd still own one in Orange County, and I still would own one in Huntsville, Alabama, and then I own my primary residence, and then I would own my 2 apartments free and clear. So that's the power of literally me just like selling 2 of my single family homes, my high equity ones, the 2 first ones I bought in 2017 and 19, use one to pay off my primary and the other one to pay off my 2 apartments, and boom, my portfolio is highly deleveraged. And that's when I want to scale back and just live off the cash flow and enjoy my life, right? Or like I said, if you want to continue to scale, you could use ones. So I would lay my foundation, right? And then like let's just say I decide to scale back. I'm just using myself as a situation so that you can see the bigger picture. Let's just say I decide to scale back and I sold 2 single family homes, took out that like $1.5 million of equity to pay off this primary residence in my 2 single family homes. Now my portfolio is for the most part very deleveraged, right? And then now let's just say I leave my W-2, right? Me and Christine both leave our W-2s, and all of a sudden my YouTube business kicks off or my coaching business kicks off, and I'm just making a lot of money, right? At that point, I just can be like, wow, my baseline is very high, right? Because let's just say after I wiped off 11,000 expenses, my cash flow might be at $15,000 to $20,000 a month, right? Or maybe about $15,000 a month, kind of high end, right? But my living expense is so low because it's just $2,000 a month for me to live here. So I'd still have $11,000 net for my living expenses, right? Whether that's going out, childcare, whatever that looks like, right? And then from there, if my other business takes off and I get that money, I just can live off my rental income or live off my business income, whatever is less, and then like use that money to go buy more real estate again, right? Because now I have a newer, higher baseline, right? Like my baseline was no rental income from real estate, right? But now I built up, let's say, a baseline of $10,000 a month, right? In terms of rental income, and my minimum expense for my housing, which is your fixed cost, is $2,000 a month. So my expense is minimized. My baseline income is raised up. And now from here, my new baseline is 10,000 bucks a month. And now I can continue to scale again in real estate for maybe the next another 5-year period. And then from there, I want to scale back and then take some debt at the table, right? Or I'm okay with scaling slower where I'm not buying as many deals, but maybe I'm putting larger down payments. But for me, I like to have time in the market versus timing the market. So for me, I'd rather put less down, own it longer, be more leveraged when scaling, because I know I can build wealth, because every year properties appreciate over time. So that's really what it is. So I'm at that weird pivot point in my financial freedom journey. Is like, do I want to, part of me wants to scale back because I want to take it easy, but also the other part of me, the entrepreneur side of me, wants to scale up. So, but I just realized that, wait, I could really do both. Like there is a way for me to like sell one to pay off my primary, to scale back, to reduce my expense, and then still buy another property and scale up, because I can afford to take that risk now, because I just took off a huge payment off my shoulders, right? Like before I was just renting a house for I think $2,200 a month, and that's a low expense. But once I took on the mortgage with Christine, like, yeah, we split it for now, but it's still a bigger obligation that we have. So once I took on this bigger obligation of the mortgage, I couldn't be as aggressive in investing, right? Because it wouldn't make sense to. But once I pay off this obligation, now I can take that risk and invest more. So this is what I mean by like, you have to like really architect your portfolio once you owned it for a while and once the portfolio has matured over time, right? So it's just kind of like the analogy would be, let's say you're growing a tree, and then at the beginning you just want your tree to grow as big as possible, right? But later, as your tree grows bigger, you want to kind of groom it to see what type of shape do you want it to be in, right? Do you want the tree to continue to grow? Are you good at the current size? Do you want to kind of downsize? Do you want to enjoy the fruits, or do you want to keep on always replanting, right? So for me, this might be my period where I'm just kind of really enjoying the fruits of my labor and taking a step back. So, I'll keep you guys posted on what I decide, but I just can't imagine making a major decision within like the next like 2 years. I think once I have kids, one kid at least, that'll definitely be a pivot point where I want to reassess, like, do I want to continue working, or do I want to go down part-time? Or maybe definitely when it's like kid number 2, at that point, I would probably just be like, yeah, you know what? I probably just want to retire or go down to part-time so that I can prioritize time with my kids and spend time with them, right? Because, those years are precious, and they fly by fast. So I'll really see how that pivots. Like I said, if interest rates drop down or I get a good multifamily deal, I'm very nimble and flexible to pivot. Like if I see a great multifamily deal, by all means, I'll strike, right? I'll strike. But if I don't see a great deal and the rates are still high, then I have no problem just selling the property and then taking it easy and just watching and waiting. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this brought value to you. Please like, comment, subscribe. And if you want one-on-one coaching and mentorship, check the link down below. You can email me directly if you want a discount code. Otherwise, hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.